All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report Town Hall session. I see a lot of your feedback here. Let me try and squeeze some of them really quick here. You can keep them coming at Trevor and BJ at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. Also send in your SMSs on 22422. Let's start off with the SMSs here. I see one from Maxwell in Utawala. He says government should ensure everyone who has subdivided land leaves a green belt of 10 feet besides public utility land and ensure that trees are planted there. We'll find out if that is a lasting solution. Let's see what else you're saying here. Kirimi Laibu says drying of water catchment areas as well as industrialization has led to greenhouse effect, hitherto leading to climate change, an enigma to farming. Is that true or false? Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok says governors should assume full responsibility of enforcing environment conservation and providing civic education on how to control forest degradation and control climate change as well. Professor, is that true from your own assessment as a governor? What is the missing link in the conversation for people to realize that this is real, it's happening now, and this is what we should do? Is it that they don't understand, and what can be done from your perspective?
Well, they still, I don't know whether to call it resistance, because like when it comes to deforestation, I think the counties at the national level will tell people that this is not the way to go. And it is not enough to say that we are missing out in terms of raising livelihoods. And therefore, when we cut trees so that maybe we can illegally sell them or stuff like that, that is acceptable. So I think the first thing is really bring this debate, this conversation to the very grassroots. And making people understand that these things that are happening, you know, like we said earlier on, you know, whether it is there's the drought, whether like now here, 1 month away, we haven't had rain. It's late. Whether it is gullies, whether it is, you know, all those things, people realizing that there is a common thread to them, and this is climate crisis. So that, like before, people didn't think HIV/AIDS was something serious, but there was continuous conversation until people realized that this is not a joke. And there are many things that are cross-cutting, and it took time for people to understand them. But I think because of this focus now, which is at the local level, this is something that is going to work. And with this meeting also, where everybody is coming from the entire country, this will be a boost. I think even in terms of those legislations and policies that we passed through the counties, because there was public participation and people were conversing about the necessity of these policies and laws. So, and just to touch on something that Peter mentioned, even when it comes to like afforestation, and it being done as a business, this is one area where you can involve the youth a lot, so that they are paid. It becomes a business to really grow these trees, whether it is in these markets, it is in schools, it is everywhere. And again, the youth in that situation would be able also to educate our people and to tell them that there are certain things that must be done now so that we can reverse some of the ill effects of the climate crisis.
All right. Mr. Dengo, you're the coordinator, program coordinator for FLOCCA. How much resources are you putting onto this, and what is the rollout plan? How do you intend to ensure you bring in everyone on board?
Great. FLOCCA is a pioneer lighthouse transformative program. And this program is designed taking into the perspective of what the governor, Professor Kibwana, said, and also the vice chairman, Governor Ongwewa, just said in a very simple word. Now, when you take all those, FLOCCA now gets a different perspective in that the challenges that are facing the local people, they need resources to tackle them. Two, they need to be incentivized that yes, there is a problem. They are not the causer in one way or another, whether they cause the deforestation. That you need to be enhanced. You need to be aware that your action or the action of the current and the future generation has to be tackled now. Now, FLOCCA now mobilizes resources globally, all over, as provided for under the UNFCCC and Paris Agreement within the financing mechanism to come and support this organization. One, the FLOCCA, we have a program called the government FLOCCA, the big FLOCCA.
Yeah.
Now, this big FLOCCA is a 10-year program, which is costed at about 1.05 billion US dollars. Sometimes when we talk about $1 billion, you think it's a lot of money. No. If you divide the per capita $1 billion with 50 million people now, and if you project a population of 3%, coming to 10 years is not much. It means that that is a baseline of the resources that we want to start kick action in what we call predictable, sizable, and national scale. Two, we have a 5-year phase 1, which we are now talking about, which is also part and parcel of this organization.
Yeah.
FLOCCA is here. FLOCCA is putting in resources. That so far, the contribution that we have, which I know will also be enhanced by the chairman of Council of Governors, the professor, is that we have 150 million US dollars. That is about 16 billion from the World Bank. This 150 million US dollars is being supported by grants from the Swedish government. It's about $13.5 million, not much, but it's very good as a starting point. Then also the Danish government, about $7.9 million.
Yeah.
But the biggest contributor in this, which I'm very, very happy that I am sitting today with the governor.
Yeah.
The 47 counties within their legislative frameworks have dedicated approximately 2%
Yeah.
of their development budget. That is coming from the national to address the challenges of climate change. And if you put that one together, that's about $75 million.
Yeah.
I would not want to go without mentioning what the counties are putting in place.
Yeah.
And of course, in linkages, also the national government when they devolve that. Now, when you put in that, you have a basket of about 251 million US dollars.
Yeah.
And 251 is about 26 billion. Now, it means that the national government are supposed, within the next 5 years, have to mobilize a baseline of about 700 or 800 million.
Yeah.
But now, the rollout plan is that, as the governor, professor mentioned, the host governor, 32 counties have already set up their basic minimum legislative framework. Yeah. For you to have a successful rollout, you need an effective policy legislative framework. The national government has been having them over the last 10 years. Yeah. But they have never been devolved down to the local where it is needed. People require that guidance to move. And over the last 1.5 years since FLOCCA came in, from 5 counties, and I'm very happy that your county, Isiolo, are the first one.
Yeah.
Now, for that short period, about 28 have already have already rolled out those systems that enable them now to start moving 28. And by the end of the year, I am confident with the support and with this, that all counties, no county should be left behind, all of them at the same time. So that the rollout is on.
Yeah.
But generally, you know that all children cannot walk at the same time.
Yeah.
Others may take a little bit of time because of the challenges. But the good thing with FLOCCA, that the far-flanked counties, I can mention them, a county like Lamu, a county like West Pokot, Turkana has been very good because of the other. There are counties that have never thought that a day climate change will be anything to them. When you look at the green tea or green coffee, they thought they have all met and they have all moved. So we see an aura of hope, commitments, dedication, and political goodwill from the county governors. Counties assemblies moved very well. They passed those laws. With that goodwill, I just think that the resources which are needed, we have the power to mobilize more. And we have the will, the goodwill of the people. And as the question, together, we will take the money where it is needed.
Okay. But Governor, it's resources that are a challenge to the counties, right? I mean, what has been the challenge for legislative framework being implemented? I know Kisii, for example, has pumped in about 100 million to deal with climate change, but is it enough?
Matters climate change, we were able to put in the budget, I think is between 100 and 150 million. I'll have to check. But matters climate change, you probably need much, much more than that. Because if you are talking about afforestation, you are talking about other mitigation measures that both mitigation and adaptation measures that will need to be put in place, and you are looking at dealing with these issues from the ward level.
Yeah.
Some of us, I don't know how many wards he has got. I've got about 45 wards. And if you have to put resources in all those wards, because like Peter has talked about here, if you are dealing with a tree, by the time that tree makes sense, you're actually talking about 5 years. At the very basic minimum. So we need more resources. But I think you would really want to applaud the counties for even the amount of resources that they have put in place, because what they have done is they have rationalized their budgets. Our budgets have remained static. I think in the meeting that was held today, the budget even for next year is remaining static at 370. No increases or anything. So what it has meant for us is for you to get that money, you must rationalize it from either roads, education, and other water, and other areas to be able to get money that would help you in both adaptation and mitigation measures on matters environment. So we, the national government and the national treasury, probably need to be much more serious on this. But we have shown our goodwill by ensuring that we rationalize whatever budgets we have. Even without any increase in budgets, we rationalize and put resources aside, because like the governor from Makueni was saying, we actually have 3 counties that have already passed the necessary legislations. And all these counties have ensured that the institutional frameworking goes up to at the ward, you have ward committees and so on. And also that the act itself indicating the nature and mode of resourcing up to the ward level. And I think that is completely positive. The other remaining counties, which are very few, I think probably by the time that, by the end of this month, before December, most of them would have passed those acts, because everybody now realizes that environment is a major problem now in the world, not only in Kenya but everywhere.
Prof, and this is being caught between a rock and a hard place, really, because about 2.5 million Kenyans are now facing starvation. 23 counties are facing drought as we speak. But like Governor Ngwa is saying, for a tree to grow, it will take about 5 years. How then do you go to your people and tell them that I will allocate this money to plant trees, and yet they are thinking, give us food. We want the food right now.
I think there's a linkage between all these measures that have to happen so that we are secure from the point of view of climate change. And the question of droughts, the question of the famines, and so on and so forth. Therefore, it is the conversation that you have so that the people can understand that linkage. Plus also when mitigation measures are themselves translated into a way of earning income for the people, like what we said about young people doing afforestation, or not even young people, and women and persons with disability and so on, so that there are measures of also making a livelihood. And that is why the counties are really trying very hard to mainstream climate change into whatever we do. For example, in Makueni, because of my experience, when I used to be a minister of environment, I was also the president of like the convention which happened in Glasgow in 2006. So learning from that time, and therefore even cascading now climate change action into wards, so that there are ward committees in Makueni, and even going beyond the wards to something that we call clusters, 377 of them, and making sure that they have dedicated funds to do any climate change action work, and also of course other things. So I think I can feel that counties are realizing that if you sort out some of these issues, then the famines and all those negative things will not give you as big a problem as they are doing today. Even the conflicts. For example, in this meeting, part of what we will discuss is conflicts emanating from climate change action. So it isn't as simple as, you know, if you are growing trees for 5 years and then, you know, you are getting food now immediate. Because even here in Makueni, there are people who are doing tree growing business. They farm. So that in itself becomes a very profitable enterprise. So it is the necessity for the media, for the governments, for civil society, for everybody to really pitch in this initiative, you know, and even NEMA, for example, dealing with the people who are polluting, like Athi River, from Nairobi through Machakos, the pollution, and the president actually talked about the cleaning of Athi River, so that it is something that must be done by all stakeholders. And that is why even from the international level and from development partners, they are really very much part of wanting to support us, and that's a good thing, and we should exploit, you know, that.
All right. So then, as we wind up on this, what can individuals do in their own backyard? Where do they start? How can they contribute?
Great. Individuals have got a lot to contribute. The success or failure of addressing climate change, particularly adaptation, is bestowed on an individual perspective. You may mobilize resources, and if it is the individual that will turn that resource into what? A greener, a cleaner water, a clean air, a food security, the resilient infrastructure, roads, bridges, the health that is now the livelihood of the people. So individual has got the final responsibilities. The National Treasury can move it. For example, now they're responding to the pollution in a river, Athi River. Just last month, the National Environment Management got $10 million from the Green Climate Fund to address that problem, as it is a national issue. The money is now there, but now how will we do that? It is the individual that has got the ultimate responsibility to turn resources into the results and into impact. And of course, like this, within the FLOCCA framework, women are at the center of these initiatives. It is business. And it is that business, and climate change is not about planting trees. Climate change is also it's not synonymous with the desertification. Sahara Desert was there millions of years before this. Climate change is anthropogenic things that we are changing as a result of individual consumption pattern. But when I go back to the awareness, you know, we have been moving a lot in terms of the green champions creating awareness. And the green champions are now all over at the grassroots level. That is the movement that now will translate that individuals have personal responsibility. The national government has got the national responsibility to fight with the resources with the other 154 countries, bring it back here. Now the county government has got now the real responsibility to ensure that the county, the sub-counties now have got resources adequate to move it to the next. And then now the individual people have now to adapt, minimize the impact, reduce their emissions, and of course, have a better health system, and of course, work hard in terms of green-collar jobs to help in the green and just transition. That is the world we are going. If you don't transit, dead.
Governor Ngwai, in hindsight, as we finish on this, has devolution worked in hindsight? What could have been done better?
You know, Trevor, we all come from rural areas. Except a few of you who are born here in Nairobi. If you come from a rural area and if you go home, you will see very, very serious changes. You look at Wote here. I was here before devolution and I've come after devolution. There are very, very serious changes here. You go to Kisii and probably just go to Kisii town itself, it's becoming a city. Indeed, I was talking the other day with the peers for housing and infrastructure, and You know what he told me, because I wanted one of our major towns to become a municipality. And then he asked me, what is the population of Kisii town? I told him it's 400,000. He told me, well, you need to start fighting for it to be a city, because a municipality is now being capped at 250,000 people. So when some of us came in, like in Kisii, the municipality had only 200,000 people. Now you're dealing with 400,000 people. They can't be coming in unless there is business. And what this has done, if you want to know that devolution has worked, start with health services.
Yeah.
In all the areas. If you're going here, you will see a mother-child here, which is dealing only with mother-child here in Wote.
Yeah.
You come to Kisii, we are 90% finished a 350-bed mother-child unit, which is going to be opened probably in the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And very many other things that have happened in health services, whether it is issues related to human resources, where you have more doctors now than you used to have,
Yeah.
whether it is issues related to equipment, diagnostic equipment and other equipment, which were non-existent, whether it was the non-existent ICUs or HDUs, which were not there, which are there now in every county.
Yeah.
If you go to road network, I think in all the counties, especially the road network, the maraming of roads and so on,
Yeah.
I don't hear any complaints now in the counties. In my own county, I don't hear any complaints about maraming of the roads, because that has happened.
Yeah.
If you go to issues water,
Yeah.
that has also happened. You hear stories from Machakos, you hear stories from here, you hear stories from all over. We are fighting even with the problems that we're talking about, the lowering of water tables because of water stress and environmental stress and so on. We're still fighting to ensure that our people have got water.
Yeah.
And these stories, whether it's a local level urbanization where you want to stop you from coming to Nairobi, and that is now happening. People are now staying at the rural areas.
Yeah.
People are not rushing to Nairobi anymore,
Okay.
because the rural areas are becoming new Nairobis.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you that devolution has worked. It has rejuvenated the countryside, and we have ensured that notwithstanding the normal problems, some of the problems could be bureaucratic. Bureaucracies, wherever they are, have their own problems of bureaucratic inertia.
Yeah.
But I can say that the initial phases of institutionalization, where we had problems, we've now passed that.
Okay.
I think we have serious governments
Yeah.
that are working.
Yeah.
And you are here in Wote, you can see a serious government here.
Okay.
And is an example of what happens everywhere.
All right.
If you come, you've been to Kisii.
Yes.
You've been to Kisii before, you've seen what has happened there. I'm talking about Kisii because I come from there and the governor comes from here. I can't talk for other governors, but I can tell you for a fact that devolution works.
Okay.
And it's the best thing that happened to this country. Imagine if it didn't happen 10 years ago, if it happened 30 years ago. I think we would be much, much further, even in terms of development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prof, how would you rate devolution? 50, 40%? 20? 100?
Well, first of all, let me say, just to respond a little to what Peter said about individuals' capacity to be major actors in climate change work. Take Wangari Maathai, take Isaac Alua. So, although one could say they're extraordinary, but they're also ordinary. And everybody can actually really pitch in and make a lot of difference. And that is what should happen.
Yeah.
Devolution, if we had not discontinued it at 1963, Kenya would be like some of those Southeastern Asian countries where really they do very well. But even now, we will still do well. We should do well with devolution. And even in the States, they still have problems, hiccups about the tug of war between the center and the periphery. But being a student of constitutional law, And having studied about, federalism, quasi-federalism, and so on, I would say that our devolution could be about 60%. We have done very well on the continent. Ours is one of the Kenya, South Africa, to some extent Nigeria, devolved systems that work pretty well. And for 10 years, for us to go this far, so that even there is industrialization happening at the periphery, employment, about 200,000 people are employed in counties, let alone those who do business with counties. So really, devolution is a godsend, and I think for the future, if we get leadership that continues and deepens devolution, we will be in a good place.
All right. Thank you so much for making for us time this evening. His Excellency Professor Kivuta Kibwana, host governor for Makueni, where the 7th Annual Devolution Conference is happening. His Excellency James Ongwae, Vice Chair, Council of Governors, Chair, Steering Committee of the 7th Annual Devolution Conference, and also the Kisii Governor, and Mr. Peter Oluoch Odengo, Head of Climate Finance and Green Economy Unit at the National Treasury, and also the Program Coordinator, FLOCCA. So over the next 4 days, Devolution Conference will be happening right here in Makueni, county number 17. The focus is on climate change. Tune in and find out how you can be a part of the change that is so desired in this country. On behalf of the entire team that made this possible, my name is Trevor Mbija. It's always a pleasure having you with us here on the Monday Report. We talk about all matters, politics, and everything in between, mostly to ensure you have the right information. All right? Good night and bye for now.